God that I can trust in Him and I can walk with Him and I'm able to talk with Him and be about Him. Today I want to read a little bit out of Luke 16. I've been studying in the book of Luke. The last couple of messages have been out of the book of Luke. But I thank God for everything that He has done. And as I was reading through this morning, I thought, no, God, that's not what I want to do. It's not what I want to preach. It's not what you want. I know it is. But I really believe it is what He wants. So I'm going to preach it. It's kind of laid to me, and I said, okay, God, we can do this. But Luke chapter 16, it's the first verse. And He said also unto His disciples, there was a certain rich man, which had a steward. And the same was accursed unto him, that he had wasted his goods. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of thee? Give an account of thy stewardship, for thou mayest be no longer steward. And the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my Lord taketh away my stewardship. I cannot dig. To beg, I am ashamed. I resort what to do, that when I am put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his Lord's debtors, said unto them, and said to the first, how much owest thou unto my Lord? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take thy bill, sit down quickly, and write 50. And he said he to another, how much owest thou? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take thy bill, and write 80. The Lord commanded the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of the world are his generation wiser than the children of the light. And I say unto you, make yourself friends of mammon or unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you in everlasting habitation. And you know what he's talking here? It's so easy to get tangled up into the world and think more of the world than of God. And it seems like every time I turn the TV on, and there's only 2 or 3 preachers I even listen to, that it seems like, and all over YouTube, we're in the end days. It's so funny how the world can recognize the end days, but yet they don't live for Jesus. They don't support no church house. They don't go to church. They don't have anything to do with it. They just, they say they're of God, and they're not. They're more of man than they are of Jesus Christ. Because we are Jesus. Jesus says to assemble thyself, to draw strength. It's in Hebrews, in the New Testament. It's in Colossians. And that's what we do. We assemble ourselves to draw strength. That way we get the strength of God in our life so we can be successful throughout the week, so we can do what we have to do to lead other people to Christianity back to Christ. And I'm not perfect all the time. Some days I have trouble. But, I hang in there and say, God, help me. To be one of His stewardships is just to be open-minded to Jesus Christ's Word and say, Lord, help me understand, and not be open-minded to the world, because if you look at the world and Christianity today, things has changed a lot. I got some old gospel people that were, and I'm not saying nothing bad, that were old-time Catholics, and boy, they are strict by the book. And I've got some other Catholic friends that, has changed today to the way that things are. And I'm not here to judge any of it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is things has changed so much. Where does our heart lay with man or lay with God? It's not talking about being sick. It's not talking about missing church because you go on vacation. Everybody needs a chance to go on vacation. It's not talking about none of that. It's talking about a good steward that wants to do the things of God, that will do the things to try to round up and look. I've talked to different ones and say, I don't care. I don't care if you drink. I don't care if you smoke dope. I don't care what you've done in your past. It's got nothing to do with it. And I don't care if you have all those habits in your heart today. Because God is the only one who can change it. I can't. But God can. God made a way through Calvary called Jesus Christ that gives us the power through the Spirit to help us. And that's what about living for God through the Spirit to help us. And you know, I talked to a woman that, well, I'm telling you, that was really something too, and I'll read that. But she was going to church and been a devout Christian and going to church, a really nice woman. And the church is shut down now. All her life she went to this church. It's shut down now. It's closed. Because we see so much stuff going on that some of our church houses, and the funny thing of it is, Johnny Cash wrote a song years ago about, Lord, our church walls and houses are crumbling now. They're accepting everything coming and going. And you know, we see all this stuff that we're passing bills every day that's fighting against Christians. If anyone wants to stand up and be a Christian, whether you're white, black, Asian, Mexican, Latino, whatever it is, if you're standing up for Christ, and if you go over east, you're standing up for Christ over there, man, they're killing them left and right. We see that the persecution is really real, that it's really happening. And we're in that days where these things are going crazy. But God is saying, be a good steward and do what is right and try to redeem yourself to God and not to man. Because man means nothing. I heard this friend of mine told me, he says, well, I'm concerned about what everybody thinks about me. Well, I'm really not too concerned about what everybody thinks about me. I'm concerned more about what God thinks about me and what everybody else does. Because I know a lot of people out there that are so-called good people, and I'm going to leave it at that. Boy, they'll talk bad about you, say how bad you are, say all kind of bad things about you. And none of it is true. But that's the way the world is. And we look at that today. Jesus was there in his time. It was happening to him. The Pharisees would all time when Jesus come in would want to do anything they could to provoke him into anger. To provoke him into on Sabbath day. Why dost thou heal on Sabbath day when it's not lawful? And Jesus says, you go out after a sheep because it fell in the pit on the Sabbath day. And you're able to retrieve it and bring it back. Are you not healthy? You know, happy and healthy that the sheep is healthy and that it made it through? He said, but yet you'll condemn me to heal somebody on the Sabbath day? But you'll go out and do whatever you want on the Sabbath day? How does that work? Is it better to do good work or to do bad work? It's better to do good work. That's what he's mentioned, and that's what's about the stewardship. You can be unjust, or you can be into the righteousness. You can be just with God and do as God would tell you. The Lord saying, look, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do this over here. I know I kid about my life a lot. I tear my arms up and everything else all the time working on something. It's been that way for years. That's just the way it's been for me. It's just one of those things. You know, you're trying to get your arm in something, you can't get your arm into it. When you pull it back out, half the meat's still hanging up there. You know, it's just the way it is. But I mean, we all do it. It's just part of that, and carpentry work or any of that. There's just the way things are. You know, but I thank God every day that I can still count on him because I want to do what is right for God and try to lead people back to Jesus. I don't care what your past has been. What I care about is when you come in and what you can hear from me that can help you get where you need to be. To help you understand that this is about you and Jesus. It's your walk with Jesus every day. This and you should be a part of everyday living. And you know, yeah, there's turmoil out there everywhere. There's problems out there everywhere. And everybody's sitting back there just to put you down because that's Satan's job. But the good steward goes on here. And you know, he's teaching them to his disciples. And he says, well, I read this, but I'll read it here. I'll start at 9 again. And I say unto you, make to yourself friend of mammon or of unrighteousness, that when you fall, they may receive you into everlasting habitation. And you know, that's so true. It's what we're talking about. If we fall, and we're not doing this by God, we're doing unrighteousness just to make ourselves look good, then we can fall in everlasting habitation. Everlasting, let's put it this way, hell, sin. We could fall into that if we're not careful. He says, he that is faithful is that which is least, is faithful also in much. And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. Therefore, you have not been faithful in the unrighteous manner, you will commit to your trust the true riches. You know, and it's so seeing today. And you look at our world, and you see this today. These young people, any free ride they can get, they'll do instead of working. And I've been talking with a young man. I can only do so much. You know, we're not like a big money church. We're only about God and Jesus, and we do what we can do. But there's a lot of organizations out there that have money. And I said, you need to go to one of them. I said, but you need to go to the middle heart of Jesus Christ to help you get into a house and help you get things where you need to be. Because he's not eating, got no place to live. I said, I can do everything I can to help you, but that's as far as I can go. I can only do so much. But if you need more than that, you got to go to one of these organizations where they have benefits and money to maybe help you. If they don't, well, that's on them. I don't know anything more to say. I said, but, you know, I do all I can do, and I can tell you what I can tell you, and I can tell you where to go and look. And if you don't do any of these things, well, it's up to you. I've got no more help than I can give. I can only give you what I got. You know, it's just like Peter in Acts, you know, he says, riches and silver and gold have I none, but what I do have, I truly give of Jesus Christ to you. But you got to use the wisdom of Jesus to get some help. And I told him, I said, you're going to have to get you some help and maybe get to where you need to be so you can get yourself straightened out. I said, if you get yourself straightened out, find you a job. Find you a way to start making something and do something with your life. But they don't want to. They want to. I'm not saying all young people. I know some that's very hardworking. And those are the ones that really makes your heart just kind of, you know, wow. You like seeing that. Because when you look around the world, the only thing they care about is going down and getting high. Doing whatever they want to do. Running around and do whatever they want. They don't care about their tomorrow. They don't care where the rest of their head. They don't care about nothing. They just care about you giving me money. You take care of me because I don't want to do nothing. And you know, you don't want to be that way. And that's the unjust, the unfaithful, the ones that just don't want anything to do and, you know, is living for man and not living for God. And, you know, Jesus is telling his own disciples, he says, don't get yourself caught up into this because I am the just one. And if you live for me, I'll live for you. And what did Christ do? He died for us so we may live. So, you know, it's time to really get back to Jesus and say, Jesus, I want to be about you. I want your help today. And he said, no servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold on to the one and despise the other. We cannot serve God and man. It says man, but man. And the Pharisees also said, who were covenant with us? Hear all these things, and they, you know, they're trying to put Jesus down. They're trying to say, look at him. And he said unto him, take ye, they which justify yourself before men. But God knoweth your heart, for he that which is highly esteemed among you, men, is an abomination in the sight of God. You know, I don't want to be about myself. I want to be about Jesus. I want to walk with Jesus. So I try to help people the best I can help them, the best knowledge I know, and try to seek where they can get their help. You know, we live in a world today that it's harder and harder to find Jesus. It's harder and harder to be about Jesus. Because, see, the world don't want anything to do with him. It started years and years ago, unbeknownst to us. And I heard this one guy, he was saying that when they took prayer out of school, he said, my dad, your dad, and whoever it was should have went down to D.C. and said, hey, we're stopping that right now. We want prayer to be left in our school. He said, since prayers went out of our school, look at where our kids become. He said, that's because we took Christ away from him. He says, we don't think about those things. He said, but now we're in the end time, we're thinking, man, we messed up. Yeah, really? Really? So today you can realize that. Is it not better to stand up and be more Christ-like than ever? You know, when you're out in the world, you just be good, be the best you can, say a little bit, you know, when the time is right, say a little bit about God. If you get the chance, if not, just be that godly person you are. That you can help somebody if somebody says, man, there's something different about him. And then when you're going away from there, they're truly going to know there was something different about him. Can you imagine the day that God calls his church and everybody is gone? And people's going to come up with something and say it's alien. They're going to say whatever they're going to say. Okay? They're going to do whatever they can. They're not going to say it was Jesus Christ. Because, see, the world still does not believe. But there will be ones that will know. Because they were unjust stewards. They didn't do what God wanted them to do. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. They wanted to be about man. Well, this man over here says that I can do that. He's a godly man. Is he really? Is he really? No, he's not. If he's telling you to sin and it's okay, it's not of God. But people want what's easy for them. They want to say it's easy instead of saying, Lord, I need to know. I need to know about you, God. You know, we're so far away from when Christ walked down here. There have been 2,000 years of Satan has caused a lot of destruction upon this earth. He's caused a lot of confusion. He's taught a lot of lies. He's taught every kind of anything of God. He's taught another way to try to get there. That's the reason people believe there's more ways to heaven than Jesus Christ. It's sin. It's not of the Spirit. The Spirit would never tell you that. God's voice that He uses through the Spirit will never tell you that. There's only one way. And that's what, you know, Luke is talking here. Is what Jesus is talking to his people about being a good steward, about walking after Him, about talking with Him, about being about Him. And it says, verse 16, and the law and the prophets were until John, and since that, the time when the kingdom of God is preached, and every man presses into it. And it is easy for heaven and earth, it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one title of the law to fail. Whosoever putteth away his wife and marrieth another one committeth adultery. And whosoever marrieth her that is put away from her husband committeth adultery. There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, fair, sumptuous, every day. He looked beautiful. He had the money. He pressed everybody. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at the gate full of sores, and desired to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died, that the beggar had died, and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in hell he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I am tormented in this flame. And Abraham said, Son, remember that thou in thy lifetime receivest thy good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now he is comforted, and thou art tormented. And besides all this, between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that they that which would pass from hence to you cannot either, and can they pass to us, cannot pass to us, that would come from thence. In this great gulf of Abraham's bosom Remember, this is where Jesus, when he died, he brought him out of Abraham's bosom. You see, Abraham believed in God. He believed in this woman. He believed all this stuff was going to happen. He didn't understand it, but he believed. He knew there was something more to God than the statues and everything the world had. That there was something more to him. And because Abraham believed, he was a blessing as far off until the end of time. When Jesus died, he went to hell, and he brought up Abraham's bosom, and all those that was in Abraham's bosom, like Lazarus and all them, they walked among there until Passover. Because it's recorded in our Bible that they said, is that not Abraham? Is that not Moses? Is that not one of the great prophets? Is that not this one? Is that not that one? Could you imagine the people that was alive that knew when God raised up out of hell, and he brought his disciples out of that bosom away from that God, and he took them to heaven? And you know, people say there's no hell. But yet, here it is in our Bible, saying when you die, whether you're rich or whether you're of God, there's one of two places to go. Heaven or hell. And here it was. And Abraham's bosom was calm, cold, no heat, no nothing. They were just there. And Abraham kept saying to God, how much longer, Lord, will you come and get us? And Jesus says, in time, I'm coming. I'm coming. In a short time, I'll be there. You know, he went to Calvary. So he come. He got there. And there they was. And there was Lazarus. And he was just wishing. He says, you know, but Lord, if you could just have him dip a little bit of water and put on my tongue, because this fire is so quenching that I can't control this. And I don't know what to do. That it's just overwhelmed me. I'm in torment and I'm tortured. I don't know what to say. You know, and that's what I'm telling you. Today is a day of resurrection. Today is a day of faith. Today is a day to live for Jesus Christ. Because if we're living for Jesus today, we have no worry about our tomorrows. Tomorrow, God will be there to help you through that day. And you know, I love Jesus with all my heart, and I trust him. I may not understand sometimes, but I'm going to go wholeheartedly trusting him, saying, Lord, I know you're going to come through. I know you're going to be there for me, and I know you're building a beautiful mansion over there that these two crooked hands couldn't do. I couldn't hang a wall up straight if I've got to get back to that level and try to straighten it out somehow. But God, when he builds it, it's just like that. Instantaneously, everything's square. Everything's going to be beautiful and perfect. That's the place I'm looking for. That's the place I want to be in heaven. Now they got all these things over there saying you've been duped. Heaven's not what you think it's about. They got all these things coming out. They got anything to confuse you, to take away what Jesus Christ done, to take away from Calvary. Because people are starting to realize it's in time. Now Satan believes no matter what, he's better than God. God is not going to be able to do anything to him, but he's wrong. Because our Bible teaches he's going to lock him up for 1,000 years in hell. False prophet, the Antichrist. He's going to be there. Right along with him. The deepest, darkest the spot of hell. That's where he's going to be for 1,000 years. And then he'll be loose for a season. Then he'll be totally annihilated forever. Because the Bible says a new heaven and a new earth. But we sat here and we think about the rich man. And you know, as I thought about that this morning, and I thought about that, you know, and he's talking about all this stuff, and he says a great gulf between us. Verse 27. Then he said, I pray thee therefore, Father, that thou wouldest send me to my father's house. Here's a rich man talking now. Just send me back to my father's house. Please send me back, Father Abraham. Because see, Abraham was a leader at that time. Christian faith. That's who he was. That's who he started. A leader of Christian faith. Even though Christ hadn't come to the cross yet, and I started right there believing Christian faith. But he's going to be there. And he sat there and he says, 28, for I have 5 brothers, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment. Please, Abraham, please, I got 5 brothers. Let me go and talk to them. Because I don't want them to come to this place. I know how bad it is. I don't want to be here. I don't want nothing to do with this. And I see things all over TV, and our commercials today are really bad. But this one guy's on this one thing, and he's saying something about something, and he says, the devil's right here with me. He don't think nothing about it. The devil be right here with me. I'm right there with him. He's here with me. Let me tell you something, buddy. Tempt the devil. You can't touch him. The only one who can touch the devil is Jesus Christ. He's already done it. And the devil knows that. So what's he going to do? He's going to trick you into false belief of something because he wants to contain you and take you where he's going to go. And we know that's hell. That's not paradise. I don't know what I'm going to do in heaven. But whatever I'm going to do there is going to be way better than being in hell. I don't care if I have to go around up there on a, what do you call it, zero turn to mow all the yards. It's going to be a lot better than being in hell, I can tell you that. Where you don't eat, you don't drink, and everybody down there is going to be a fight. It's going to be torment. It's forever a torment. Could you imagine? I can remember the days you go by, the dumb things I used to do, go in bars and get in a fight. I remember one night I was going to whip 5 guys. I didn't care. I was going to whip them all. They all took me serious because they left. Thank God. I didn't even have to fight that night. But can you imagine what it's like? I've been in 12-man Royal Rumble, won a wrestle. Man, you come out with bruises, bones broke, and everything else tore up all over you. I can only imagine what hell's going to be like. And here it is, a perfect example, and everybody says there's no such thing as hell. They're a deceiver. They're a scoffer. They're liars. They're no good. You don't want to believe and trust in them. You want to believe and trust in what the Word says. And he says there, for I have thought, brother, can I please go down to him? Because this place is a torment. And Abraham, verse 29, said unto him, they have Moses, and they have prophets. Let them hear them. And he says, nay, Father Abraham, but if one went unto them from the dead, they will repent. Here's Abraham's answer. And this, really, wow. And he said unto him, if they hear not Moses and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded through one rose from the dead. Prophesied about Jesus Christ. Because when Jesus was here, even though he rose from the dead, they didn't believe. Doubting Thomas says, prove yourself. Jesus says, touch my side. See my hands. See my feet. See my head. We'll put the crowns on me. And doubting Thomas started believing. But up till then, can you imagine? He didn't believe. He didn't believe. And you want to talk about the stewardship, let me tell you something. You can be like God, or you can be like Judas. Judas is the perfect example of a good steward who went back. He ran down there for 30 pieces of silver and sold Jesus out. A perfect example. And you can see there today that the world is selling herself off. And it will be left behind. And I try to tell my son, I try to tell my families, I try to tell all the ones, look, today is a day of salvation. Today is a day of reckoning. Today is a day that we get to be about Jesus. And we go on vacation. I don't talk a lot, but when I get a chance to talk, I talk. And I'll talk about Jesus. I'll talk about things. No, I'm a Christian. I pastor a church. And they'll look at me and they'll say, you pastor a church? Yeah, I pastor a church. Well, you don't look like a preacher. Where's all the rings, the gold, and all the hoopies? I think that's part of God. I think the part of God is the congregation and me, where God's here with us. We're a part of Him through Jesus Christ. That's the part. That's what makes it. That's what helps it. And I thank God for everything He's done. And I've been talking to someone, and you know how much we all hate Facebook, but I put this message out there. And I read one here a while back that a man had sent to me, about me and my wife and how he prayed for us when we were sick and all that stuff. It really touched my heart. Well, another woman sent this to me. And she sent it to Darla. She says, tell Mike, I did watch one of his sermons on Facebook. Very impressed. I really liked it. It's so nice to see pastors that continue teaching the word and speaking through the Spirit. This is one that lost her church. And I said, just get on Facebook, look me up. If you like me, you like me. If you don't like me, it's okay. I'm not mad. But she sent this to Darla. And she says that, she's loved to see that. Not wavering to today's times. He and I were discussing how some Christians are just accepting the evil, transgender stuff, the LGBT friendly. I believe in teaching the Bible. God clearly says a man should only lay with a woman. Anyway, so sad. And I'm praying hard God will let the conservative side win. And we may have a chance for this country and our kids and grandkids to be like Jesus. That's where we're at today. We're there. We're at the end of the days. And I thank God every day we see so much going on. As I watched the preacher this morning, he says, everybody's blaming the Christians. He said, everybody puts them down. It's happening some today. But there's some true ones out there that's making a mockery of, the true ones are doing what's right. But there's some imposters out there that's making mockery out of God, out of Jesus Christ. And they're living and lying and carrying on. It's a mockery. And the Bible says that he'll turn them over to reprobate mind. And you know what? You get reprobate mind. If you ever read anything about that, I can remember years ago it was taught that it was about homosexuality, but it's not. It's about guys like Jim Jones, the one that was killing all the people. Can't think of his name. Going around, he was gay, and trying to drill holes in their head and kill them, making these robots. That's the world out there. We see so many people out there that's just turned away from the teaching of Jesus Christ. And I like what you said about Wilbur. I don't know Wilbur's like that much. I just know of him. I can't say a whole lot on him, and I know of him. I had this church before me. But one thing that he did say was right. I'm not going to sell myself to gain capital gain in this world. Because if I don't have Jesus, I have nothing. But with Jesus, all things are possible. And all I have to do is stand for him. I get beat up. I get marks all over me. It don't matter. What matters is one day I'll be in heaven. I'll look down to this, and you know what? I've done a lot of dumb things. I've done a lot of dumb things. And I thank God that he's seen through all that. And one day he said, stupid, hey, big dummy, start paying attention. I thank God. He put it in a way that I had to understand. There was no way out. He left me at the hands of the devil. But he was there with me. And I had to make my decision. And I said, God, I live for you. And the devil had me. He had me. I was pinned down, buddy. I couldn't say nothing. The only thing I could say in my mind was Jesus. 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 The devil standing there talking to me just as well as I'm talking to you. No, he didn't have horns. He didn't have a pitchfork either. That guy didn't have a boom, a brush, a nip, nothing on his face. He was clean shaved, buddy. He looked like a man bucks. But the only thing I could do is Jesus, 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 Jesus. The devil got running. And I knew then, boy, I run for a couple of weeks. I didn't miss a church service going on at that time down there in Drakes for nothing. And I run for a couple of weeks. And I got a hold of Jesus. He got a hold of me. You see, I didn't want to understand. He put it in a way that I would understand. I thank God every day. I have not the power. Jesus does. That's how I get through my battles. Oh, I might get beat up going through that battle. And I tell you what, I come on the other side, I'm still with Jesus. And he's hanging on to me, and I'm hanging on to him. Because one day, I will be gone. I got really nothing more to say. Just wanted to touch base on it.